Hi everyone. So with the arrival of Goonie into the house, I decided to get him some new things for when he gets here. Um, and I'm a big fan of making my own things. I'm not very creative, but I like to save money and spend it on other things for my birds. So if I can get away with making them something instead of buying it, I usually do. So one thing that I enjoy making actually, because it's got a lot of health benefits, is my own perches. Um, I will post a link to a website that will mark down all of the safe woods that you can use. Pretty sure this one's an alder branch. I'm not sure. I'm not very good with my trees. Um, Before I get too much further, and before I forget, don't go out to the bush and chop down random trees. I got these off the property of my friends, and her mom was chopping down trees, and she pointed out the trees that she was chopping down, and I just helped myself because the trees were growing anyway. Don't just go out to the bush. That's illegal, in Canada at least. um, Make sure you have permission, which is always good. And make sure that you're not cutting down something that has been used, like pesticides have been used on them, or whatever. Again, you can clean these. I like to keep the bark on them. It's a lot nicer on their feet, and I think it's on this. Oh, there it is. On this one, there's a scratch, and this was a natural scratch, I believe. I could have been me actually with the saw. I'm not very good with the saw. And the birds can pick off the bark if they don't like it. It's good for their beaks. It's good for their feet. There's a lot of different textures on it. If they don't like something on the perch, they can modify it, and hey, you didn't pay anything for it, so it's not a big deal. Go to the hardware store and pick up 3 things. I got these at Home Hardware and a building center because the Home Hardware didn't have a specific piece I was looking for. First piece is a washer. Washers are obviously pretty easy to find. The only thing that I want to make sure that you guys know is the purpose for these washers is not just to look pretty. There's actually a purpose for these, and that is when you put the branch like this inside the cage, your cage bars go like this, right? So this is on the inside of the cage. This is on the outside of the cage, like this one. So here's the cage bars. If your cage bars are super far apart, what's going to happen is when you put on your wing nut, and you screw it all the way down, having a hard time here. You screw it all the way down. Okay? Here you are, screwing on your perch, thinking, hey, this will work. Oh, and wait a second. Your wing nut doesn't cover over the bars of the cage. It's too small. So what happens is, here's your branch. Your bird comes along and sits on the end, and whoosh, there goes your perch, because it's not bolted on properly. So what you do is you go to the store, and some smaller perches actually have 2 of these to sandwich the perch. I figured that these perches are big enough, so you don't really need 2. So you put your perch in, and whoop, this goes between the cage bars would sit this way, and this goes down here like this. Okay, and then you put your wing nut on the end. You have to make sure that you have some of these. This is super duper important because you don't want to kill your bird by not putting one of these on. So these are called washers. Okay, this one's got a pretty big loop in it. I found it out in the garage. You can get ones with smaller ones, but you know, you'll be at the hardware store, so you'll be able to tell what you can and cannot put on the end of this. Next, this thing. These are called hanger bolts. They are like a double-sided screw. It's the best way I can describe them. You can't see on it, obviously, because I screwed it in. But this side has threads for my wing nut. I'll go over wing nuts in a second, and why wing nuts are better than other nuts. So, also, when you're at the hardware store, make sure that whatever hanger bolt you pick, you can put this on. A lot of the times they'll let you take the hanger bolts out of the package to make 100% sure that you can put this on here. So the part that you can't see on the inside is built like a screw. So there is two different threads on here. One is a screw, which is inside, and one is bolt threads. So what you want to do is you want to grab your drill and put in a drill bit. So you can drill into your wood. Use something a bit smaller than how big this is, your hanger bolt, and drill in a hole. Make sure that your wood is fairly dry, and make sure that you work slowly because you don't want to crack your wood, because cracks can lead to little toenails getting stuck, and rip, there goes your toe, not fun. So you screw in your hanger bolt. Make sure you screw it in all the way. As you can see, you cannot see screws, or like screw threads sticking out. There's usually a gap between the two, like a, I don't know if you can see, it's really hard to see, but there's a little space where there's no threads at all, right close to the end. That's how far you should screw this thing in. So yeah, be careful if you're using pliers or I don't remember what the other ones are called. I'm not a dude. I don't spend my whole day out in the grass. Make sure that you don't like completely strip your threads, because you won't be able to get your bolt on. So here's your perch. There's your washer. These little handy dandy suckers are called wing nuts, butterfly nuts sometimes. I don't suggest that you use hexagonal nuts, because that means you actually have to go out and get like something to screw it on with. These you can do by hand. So this hanger bolt is really long, which is okay with me, because if I decide to make a play stand, I can bolt these on. Having a hard time here. There we go. So here we go, down the perch. This is where the pliers were, so it's a bit harder to turn. Now you wouldn't be able to do this with a hexagonal nut, and that means that you have to go out and find one, something that will screw it on. With these, they're hassle-free, which means that you're more likely to tighten the sucker super tight than if you had a hexagonal nut. It was only like 60 cents. You can usually get them, like, you can probably get them in like a case, like I got the hanger bolts. I had to buy them one at a time. The hanger bolts I got in a package of 3. Each pack was like $2. So it works out to be really cheap when you think about it, like a whole $2.50 a perch. Not to mention that you can use the hanger bolts again, which is great if your birds like to destroy their perches, or if they get pretty raggedy, or they've been washed a whole bunch of times. I don't know why I took that all off. I'm gonna put it back on. Something that I want to make sure you guys consider is if you have a bird that's fairly big, make sure that your branches are big enough so that their feet cannot go around like this. They should not touch the bottom like that. That's too small. So I know that this will be perfect for Goonie, which is why I chopped these down for Goonie. Smaller birds can do okay with bigger perches. Just make sure that they're not too big. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna put this in the box because it doesn't want to stand up. Make sure that they have a lot of different sizes going on. I have 6 different perches that I made today. Some of them have forks in them. Some of them are really small at the end and then get really big and then get really small again. Some of them bend, get lots of different sizes. One of them's like super thick. It's like this big around. That's good, because that means that your bird isn't standing on the same diameter perch all day, which can really bother their feet. Could you imagine sitting in the same chair all day? That would suck. That's where they're coming from here. So yeah, a whole bunch of things to consider when making bird perches. It's a lot cheaper. You're a lot more flexible with other things that you don't want to cheap out on. So there you go. Hope you learned something. Construction is fun, just like learning. Who would have thought?